You sit cross-legged on the floor of your office, and your boss knocks on the door and says, "What are you doing?" And you say, "I'm waiting for an answer to arrive. I'm meditating." You will probably get the sack, because that's not how we run things, is it? Either in business or in government. You try it. So I'm arguing for rebalance of science and awe. I'm arguing for a little bit more humility. We think we know everything, but actually cosmology and astrophysics particularly tells us things every day that we really don't know. We really don't have a unifying theory at the moment. That's the thing that's troubling all cosmologists. The third systems change, which also I think is confounding, and this is very difficult to articulate, is that if you look at the statistics on the history of humanity, the world is as peaceful now as it's ever been. We live in a world of relative peacefulness. I say relative. One of the reasons why you don't think this is true is because on your mobile phone you can get a beheading now, or you can get an accident now, you can get something. You are bombarded with negative images. But actually, if you look at the statistics, we learned from 1945 particularly onwards to negotiate, the birth of the United Nations. These three instruments that we're interested in here today are arguments for negotiation. They show that we've learned to talk across sectors. They show that we've learned to talk to people that previously we found difficult. They show that we understand diversity and that we want to celebrate it. So you need to remember, if you look at, I would reference Steven Pinker's work here, the guy at MIT who's written a lot about this, but other people have as well, that actually we live in an era of relative peacefulness, despite what you might think. And I've argued that this is because of the feminization of decision-making. Just as understanding the planet as one shared space takes a nurturing, collaborative, sharing ethic, so learning to negotiate requires a lack of masculinity, aggression, and compassion, and a greater understanding of nurturing, sharing, and caring. This is not only an argument for gender equality, and I am looking at this audience at my panel and hoping that there's 50% of women here represented, but this isn't just an argument for gender equality. This is an argument for androgeneity. This is an argument for men not being so aggressive, not being so competitive, learning to be nurturing, caring, sharing people. I'm arguing for a different sort of human being on planet Earth, because some women are as masculine as some men, of course. I won't mention some prime ministers. So I'm arguing that actually this has already been happening, that we have learned to talk, we have learned to negotiate, and actually the development of social capital has been as important in the last 50 years as the development of other sorts of capital, but we still, through GDP, measure economics and finance. We don't measure social capital, etc. So rethinking the way in which we measure wealth is very much part of what I call the feminization of decision-making. Now, I have been attacked on some parts for using this language by some men who say, I can change a diaper or a nappy, I push a pram, I do the washing up. I'm offended. What are you trying to turn me into? So there's some men that are worried by this. I can see you out there. And then there are some women as well from the feminist side who say, you as a man can't co-opt our language. How dare you? Okay. I stand charged. If it starts a good discussion about this, then I'm very happy. So that's my third systems issue that I think is happening anyway. If these three systems issues are happening anyway, then the fourth one is an obvious thing to say. This means that all of our organizations and all of our institutions are the wrong organizations and the wrong institutions. And of course, all of our organizations and all of our institutions are based on nationhood, but they're mostly also based on a model of capitalism which is now defunct, which is now lost. Partly on industrial capitalism, which was about exploiting the Earth's resources and thinking that some resources were free and infinite, but also since the end of the 1970s on a model of libertarian economics, currently known as neoliberalism, which also says that money can be made out of money, that you can commodify, objectify, marketize absolutely anything, and this apparently will bring happiness. Indeed, the market is so strong now, the idea of the market is so strong, that apparently it lies higher than the gods, that religions came after and come after this, that we should pay adherence to the market before we pay adherence to other forms of belief system. And that's what runs most of our corporations. Now, there is a lot of work going on around the world, and I'm sure you will be part of this, and you will know about this, about rethinking not only capitalism, but also rethinking the corporation.